Hello again. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and today we're going to be talking about hashtag WTFU. Where's the fair use and how I disagree with the entire concept. No. Sorry. Wrong class. We are actually going to be talking about MIMO, multiple in, multiple out wireless technology, wireless introduction. Just had to make a joke about that whole WTFU thing, because I did a video about my not supporting that movement last week, and holy hell, I'm getting so much crap. Apparently half of YouTube thinks I'm a complete and utter asshole. In a bad way. Again, there are times when it's good to be an asshole in a good way. And then there's times you're like, oh my golly. But oh well, what are you going to do? So today we're going to be talking about MIMO, multiple in, multiple out, wireless introduction. And basically the concept here is this is a type of technology for wireless networks that allows your access points or your wireless routers to have multiple antennae. So the idea is that that whenever a wireless access point tries to communicate to wireless devices on the network, that they can only communicate with wireless networks one at a time. So basically one device per every antenna. So a wireless access point can't simultaneously communicate to multiple different devices. Basically, for every antenna, you have to time slice so that each device only gets a slice of time with that antenna. This isn't such a big deal if you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 devices on the network, because computers are pretty good with doing this thing called time slicing. The issue is what happens when you have 10 or 20 or 50 devices all trying to use the exact same access point. So if you have 50 devices all trying to use one antenna, no matter what quality that antenna is, whether it's 802.11ac, whether it is Cisco, whatever, you still have 50 devices all trying to hammer that one antenna, and that doesn't work out so well. So if you have multiple antenna, then all of those different devices can communicate with that access point on the different antenna, and it works out much better. Now, before we get into the MIMO wireless introduction, we do have to talk about our sponsors for a second, because they are the ones that pay the bills. Schooley Mitchell. Purpose is to increase clients' profit by reducing telecom cost using software and process at no risk. We only share savings. SchooleyMitchell.com. Spiceworks, the best online community for IT professionals to help solve your technology problems. Community.spiceworks.com. And finally, Gilware Data Recovery and Backup Solutions. Gilware's partner programs help computer repair and IT professionals make money by offering data recovery and backup services to their clients. So if you're looking for telecom solutions datacom solutions, contact Schooley Mitchell. If you have IT questions, technical questions you need help with, contact Spiceworks. And if you are running a computer repair shop and you want to offer a high-level data recovery services, but you don't want to have to do it yourself, take a look at Gilware Data Recovery. Links are below the video. Please click on those. I do not ask that you thumb up my video. I do not ask that you subscribe to my channel. I do not ask that you leave a comment, but I do ask that you click on the links below. Again, at the end of the day, you always got to know what metric matters to you, and you clicking on those links is the metric that matters to me. And with that, let's get to this class. So basically, we're talking, again, like I say, we're talking about MIMO wireless. The idea is that we have multiple antenna. So if you look at these wireless access points or wireless routers I have in the background, I think these are from Netgear. These little beasts, as you can see, like this one has 6 different antenna. This has 4 different antenna. So the idea with the MIMO wireless is that each antenna can only talk to one device at a time, right? So if you have, let's say you have 4 devices and you have one antenna, that means all 4 devices are sharing that one antenna. So if you have 4 antenna and 4 devices, that means each device gets its own individual antenna. So that means the entire wireless system is going to be working better. Do remember, whenever you're dealing with any type of technology, no matter what it is, there are a bunch of different components that go together to build that particular device. So when we're talking about something like a wireless access point, there's a lot of different stuff that goes into this. You have the antenna, so this is what actually communicates with all the different wireless devices. You have its little brain, it has a CPU, it has its own operating system, and so that allows it to figure out what to do with all the different types of traffic. It has the internal networking components, so when the traffic comes in, it can route it out to the main network or bring traffic from the main network and send it out to the wireless. So this is one of those things that you have to be thinking about whenever you go out and you buy your wireless equipment, because so many times people only look at one thing and then they don't realize why the equipment doesn't do what you need it to. So whenever you're going to be buying something like wireless equipment, you need to be thinking about all the different components. Does it have gigabit per second connection? Hardwire gigabit per second connection. That's its own little thing. Do you trust that the brain power that the device has is up to the task? So normally when you're talking about switches, you hear about something called the backplane. So the backplane is the total speed the switch can handle. So it may be a 10100 per port or a gigabit per port, but then the question is, overall, how much data can the switch handle? Can the switch handle 10 gigabits per second or 100 gigabits per second on the backplane? So whenever you're thinking about any of these networking devices, you have to think about how it connects to the network. You have to think how good the brain power is inside this thing, and then things like the antenna. So whenever you're going to be going out and you're going to be looking to purchase wireless devices, this is something that you want to be thinking about. Again, there is no hard and fast rule how many devices you're going to use versus how many antenna. Basically, the idea is the more antenna you got, the better. On the other hand, the more antenna you got, the more expensive it's going to be. So if we look here, this is a screenshot from Open Mesh. If you haven't looked at Open Mesh, wireless mesh equipment, definitely take a look. They're very good equipment. I did a video on them a couple of years ago, but very good stuff. But you can see here, and they talk about the different antenna. So you have the OM2P. Radio speed is 150 megabits per second. It's a single external antenna that can do a max user of 20 to 50 per access point. So if you go over here to the OM2PHS, you can go up to 300 megabits per second. You'll notice it's dual internal antenna. So you will also see this thing external or internal antenna. So that's important to think about, right? So the antenna on the access point that you're dealing with don't necessarily have to be external. I've seen these huge, they're like these tire-sized wireless access points, and all the antenna are inside, but they can contain up to 32 antenna. So when you're looking at the different devices, don't assume just because you can't see an antenna popping out that it's only like a single. Many times the antenna are actually internal. So you look at that OM2P-HS, 300 megabits per second. It's a dual internal antenna, and again, 20 to 50 users, max users per access point. Now you'll notice with that dual internal, it goes from $75 for the first one to $95. You then go up to the OM5P-AN. It has multiple, so it's actually a dual band. So it does the 2.5 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz concurrently. Can actually do those concurrently. 150 plus 300 megabits per second. Can deal with, again, 20 to 50, $135. And then you go up to the MR1750. That's an 802.11ac access point. 450 megabits per second on the 2.4 gigahertz. 1.3 gigahertz per second on the 5 gigahertz. And again, if you go down here, you'll see it's 6 internal antennas, 50 to 100 users per access point, and then it comes out to about $225. So one of the things you have to be thinking about, again, as a technology professional, you're like, Eli, but what's the best one? Eli, what's the best one? Well, the best one is the MR1750, because it's an 802.11ac with 6 internal. Absolutely the best one. Oh, but Eli, we don't have $200 and whatever it is, $25 to purchase one. We only have, $95. Well, then you go down and you look, and basically what you do in the real world of technology is you do all these trade-offs, you do all these balances, you do all of this kind of spitballing thing, like, well, I think I think that one is probably going to do best. And so the big thing just to realize here, again, like I say, is the more antenna the device has, the easier it's going to be for that device to, or that network, the wireless access point, to talk to all of the different wireless devices, and so the system will work better all the way around. Now, while you use MIMO, multiple in, multiple out, the two things are speed, right? So since you have more antenna, that means more traffic can go through the wireless access point and out to the main network. Do realize, almost no matter, I mean, with 802.11ac it's a little bit different, but with most of these wireless access points, the max wireless speed is below 1 gigabit per second, right? So you can communicate with multiple different devices and actually be able to speed up the overall wireless throughput by being able to give every single device its own antenna. So by each device having its own antenna, it means you can actually push more data through the network. So the big thing is it increases the speed of all your wireless networking devices, especially if you have quite a few, and then it also increases reliability. So this is a big one, especially in the modern world of wireless technology. So we used to see this a lot more a few years ago before wireless technology got better and people really started using MIMO technology, is that a lot of times, especially when we start talking about that brain power of the wireless access point, the problem is when the wireless access point only had one antenna or maybe two antenna, and you had a lot of devices all trying to communicate with that wireless access point, it was too much for that little brain to handle. So that's why in the past you had to reboot wireless access points quite a bit. I had small business clients where we had to get them off of old Linksys wireless access points simply because they literally had to reboot the wireless access point once per day. The reason is they had so many wireless users all trying to communicate to that one little poor access point that didn't have multiple antenna, that when it did that, basically the little brain was trying to give the antenna, time slice the antenna to all of those different users, and it kind of just screwed with it. So a lot of times the wireless access point would crash or it would freeze up. So one of the biggest things with having these multiple antennas, especially in larger environments, is that you simply get more reliability out of your wireless infrastructure. MIMO is just a really great thing. As far as problems with MIMO, because again, you're going to be sitting there and going to be okay, Eli the computer guy. Whenever we talk about any technology, Eli comes in here and he talks about the problems, right? Whatever we're going to use. We were talking about quality of service before. And the quality of service, everybody says is awesome, and then Eli's sitting there going, it's good for what it's good for. Talking about bandwidth throttling, people say bandwidth throttling is awesome. And Eli's like, it's good what it's good for. So we start talking about MIMO, and the big question is what is the problem with MIMO? Where does MIMO fall down? Multiple in, multiple out. Eli, this is going to make a more complicated system, right? If you have all those multiple antenna, there's more problems, right? The more things you add to a device, the more problems you can have. Where is the issue with MIMO? And there just isn't. It just isn't. Multiple in, multiple out is like awesome. There's like, this may be the one time in my entire life, in Eli's entire life, when he says a technology is just, it's just good all the way around. Like the downside of this, again, devices cost more money, but I have not really seen any downside to MIMO. The more antenna you can buy, the better. Now, I will warn you as I say that, remember, different vendors create different quality products. Right? Just because you have a little access point that has like 50 antenna popping out of it like a porcupine doesn't necessarily mean that's a good piece of equipment. There's a difference. There's a difference between there being a problem with a type of technology and a problem with a vendor or manufacturer. There are a lot of manufacturers out there that I would not touch with a 20-foot pole. I would not touch with somebody else's 20-foot pole. Whatever 802.11ac MIMO AD the crap they put into it, I still would not buy it. So it's simply because you see a lot of antenna popping off that thing, don't believe that unto itself makes it a good wireless access point. It's a type of technology that adds to the quality of a manufacturer's wireless access point. I guess that is the way I would say it. So definitely no problem at all with MIMO. All thumbs up across the board with MIMO. Again, different vendors. Ooh, I've seen some bad crap. So bad, so bad. So the question is then how do you use MIMO? So you're like, okay, multiple in, multiple out. What are the configurations for this? And the thing with MIMO is really nice is basically you buy your wireless access points with the MIMO built in, and then it just does it. I say generally no configuration because as a technology professional, I get really queasy about ever saying absolutely none. But generally, there's no configuration. If you go out there and you buy consumer or small office, home office quality MIMO access points, I don't believe there's any real configuration settings that even if you wanted to, you could go in there and change as far as the MIMO is concerned. If you go out there and you buy enterprise grade stuff, again, with enterprise grade stuff, they can always tweak things. So there may be something there, but the nice thing with MIMO, it really is basically if you want it, you just go out, you buy the specific device, and then you set it up and away you go. Now the question is, if you're asking, how do I know which particular wireless access point to buy? So if we go back and we look at the thing I had before, so this shows 4 different versions with these different wireless access points. And so one of the big questions you guys always ask me then is, well, which one specifically should I buy? Which one? I know I should buy the best, Eli, and no, I don't necessarily have a specific budget, but really, which is the best? Which is the appropriate one for me to buy? The one thing that I will tell you guys that nobody ever seems to want to do is really what you should do is you should call up the company. Right? Back when I was dealing with Cisco wireless access points, how I figured what Cisco wireless access points I needed was Cisco literally had a phone number. I called up the company and said, hey, this is the office environment that I'm dealing with. This is the amount of devices that I'm dealing with. This is the basic structure of the building that I'm dealing with. What do I need? And then they would say, you need 2 of these or 3 of these or 1 of those. And I didn't even have to buy it from Cisco. I would then go to Newegg and buy Cisco. But it wasn't like I just had to buy it from Cisco itself. So if you're looking, especially any like this, the home office, small office equipment or the enterprise grade equipment, and you're like, oh, MIMO sounds pretty good. Basically, the idea is call up the vendor. So this is Open Mesh. And again, I give, well, as of a year ago, I give Open Mesh thumbs up. I haven't used them in a little bit, but they were good before. So if you're looking at this, you're like, which one should I buy? Basically, call up Open Mesh and say, this is the environment that I'm dealing with. Which wireless access point should I go for? If you're looking at Cisco, do the same thing. If you're looking at any of these major manufacturers, you should be able to do the same thing, and they will give you the best options. So that's really all there is. So when we talk about MIMO, like I said, all it is this multiple antenna on one wireless access point. Whenever you're dealing with wireless access points, there are multiple components to actually make it a good wireless access point. You have the different antenna, you have the little brain that allows it to actually figure out what to do, and then you have its connection to the local area network. All of those things come together to make it a good access point. And with MIMO, one of the things to be thinking about with MIMO right now is more and more people are getting more and more wireless networking devices. You go into small offices, even enterprise environments. More and more people have tablet computers, and they have smartphones, and they have laptop computers, and they have all of these wireless devices. Now, something you guys should be thinking about as technology professionals is that it's really easy to forget about equipment that continues to function even if it doesn't continue to function great. So one of the problems, especially if you go out and you buy something like Cisco wireless equipment, so if you have old 802.11g Cisco equipment, is those old Aeronet wireless access points are awesome. They're great. Like I installed a lot of them back in the day, and for the most part, they're very good. And so if you have an environment where, let's say 6 years ago, you installed 802.11g AeroNet wireless access points, and it was working really well, 6 years ago, and now we've come forward, so now it's 2016, and the wireless network still seems to be working, pretty good, but not really great. One of the things that you may be thinking that you may have overlooked is that you need to upgrade your wireless networking equipment. When you think about MIMO technology, when you think about 802.11ac, wireless has come a long way in a very short period of time, and a lot of times it's very easy to kind of ignore or not see how many new wireless devices are being used on your network. Again, not that long ago, back in 2007, 2008, most computer devices in a business were wired. The default wired. Maybe you had some laptops that were wireless, but even a lot of times the laptops themselves are wired. More and more people, it's like you slowly do this transition from wired to wireless, and then the wireless, it's still working. It's still working. But it doesn't really seem to be working that great. It may be is because functionally your wireless equipment is becoming obsolete, so you need to go out and you need to go and buy some new equipment. And that is one of those things to be thinking about. So MIMO, simply multiple in, multiple out, multiple antenna on a single wireless access point, all the way around, a very good thing as a form of technology. Again, the type of equipment you buy. Just be careful of the manufacturer, is what I would say. As I say at the end of these, do remember I do have multiple projects, not simply the Eli the Computer Guy channel. A lot of people got irritated in the YouTube world. People like to see like one type of content on the channel. So I actually have 3 channels now. I have Eli the Computer Guy, where I do these educational classes and some couple of other things that are involved with the YouTube community. I then have Eli Computer Guy Live. That is where I do question and answer videos. I put out 3 videos there a week. And then I have Failed Normal, where I do vlogs. So I talk about the real world of being a technology professional. And finally, we have silicondiscourse.com, where you can do Skype meetings with me. I do 2 Skype meetings a day for 50 minutes each, talking to you guys about whatever the hell it is you guys want to talk about. And those are the other things that I do. Again, I do not ask you to thumb up. I do not ask you to subscribe. I don't ask you to do anything other than click the links below. These are all IT-related sponsors, so if nothing else, you should know that they exist. Again, it's good. It's good for you. It's good for them. It's good for me. It's good all the way around. And with that, I will leave you with Make YouTube Great Again. Grade A, President of YouTube 2016. I think if we can get a real movement behind Grade A, we can do some wonderful things with YouTube going into the future.